I live out on the edge of a semi-rural neighborhood far enough to enjoy my privacy, but close enough to a small, gated HOA community that they think they can boss around anyone within a mile radius. The HOA president, a woman everyone calls Karen, and trust me, the name fits. I've been on my case ever since I refused to join their little kingdom. It started small. It's passive-aggressive letters about community aesthetic standards that didn't even apply to me. Threats about non-compliant fencing and snide remarks about my property looking too militaristic. That last jab was aimed at the pride of my late father's collection, a fully restored, demilitarized M1 Abrams tank parked in my barn. It's legal. It's registered as a historic vehicle, and yes, it runs. The final straw came one summer night. At exactly 3:07 a.m., I woke to the sound of metal on wood, a harsh, grinding crash. At first, I thought a drunk driver had plowed into the property. But when I looked out the window, my blood boiled. Two bulldozers, painted black with makeshift security stickers slapped on their sides, were ripping my fence apart section by section. Behind them stood three men in mismatched tactical gear. No badges, no department markings, holding flashlights and clipboards. Their uniforms screamed costume shop more than law enforcement. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and stepped out onto the porch. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted. One of them turned his light on me. "Security, sir. You've been warned multiple times about a non-compliant perimeter. We have the right to remove it." My voice dripped with disbelief. "I'm not part of your HOA and you're trespassing." The lead guy smirked. "That's not what our records say." That's when my 14-year-old son, Jason, appeared behind me, bleary-eyed but alert. He took one look at the bulldozers chewing through our fence and muttered, "Dad, you want me to wake the Abrams?" At first, I almost laughed. The kid was serious. But as I watched another section of my expensive cedar fencing tumble into splinters, I nodded slowly. "Yeah, warm her up." Jason bolted for the barn while I kept my phone trained on the fake guards. "You're making a huge mistake," I warned them. They ignored me, barking orders at the bulldozer operators. One of the machines started inching closer to my tool shed. Clearly intending to push through, the barn doors creaked open, and that's when the deep, throaty rumble of a 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine shattered the night air. The fake guards froze. The bulldozer's engine sputtered as the operators looked around in confusion. Then she rolled out. 40 tons of American steel, olive drab paint gleaming under the floodlights I'd flicked on. The M1 Abrams tank emerged from the barn like a beast waking from hibernation. Jason was in the driver's seat, wearing my old Army surplus helmet and grinning like he'd just been handed the keys to the kingdom. I climbed up and swung into the commander's hatch. Standing tall with the spotlight sweeping across the trespassers, "This is private property," I bellowed. "You have 60 seconds to shut down those bulldozers, drop your gear, and leave. Before I call the actual police, and they're going to love hearing how you tried to impersonate them." One of the men tried to puff his chest. "You can't threaten us with a tank." I flipped a switch, and the Abrams turret slowly rotated until the main gun was aimed squarely at the lead bulldozer's bucket. I didn't have live rounds, but the sight of that massive 120mm barrel locking on was enough to drain the color from their faces. Jason revved the engine, the treads clanking forward a few feet. The bulldozer operators scrambled out of their seats. "You've got 30 seconds now," I said coldly. They broke. The fake guards bolted for their vehicles, tossing their fake clipboards and security armbands onto the ground. One of them tripped in the mud and crawled the rest of the way to the SUV. Within a minute, they were tearing down the road with their hazard lights on, the irony not lost on me. I parked the Abrams across the driveway, blocking the entrance, and called the county sheriff. It took about 15 minutes for 2 real patrol cars to show up. When they arrived, I showed them the video from my phone, complete with audio of the trespassers claiming HOA authority and footage of the bulldozers smashing through my fence. The deputies recognized 2 of the men immediately. "Those guys aren't cops," one of them said. "One's Karen's nephew. The other runs a contracting business that's been fined for unlicensed work." By sunrise, The bulldozers had been impounded and arrest warrants were issued for trespassing, property destruction, and impersonating a public officer. Karen tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, that she'd only asked them to inspect my fence, but the evidence was damning. The story didn't just stay local. Neighbor's security camera had caught the Abrams rolling out of the barn, and the clip went viral online. Headlines read, "Homeowner defends property with tank against fake HOA cops." Jason became something of a legend at school. People started calling him Tank Commander, and my inbox filled with reporters asking for interviews. We turned most of them down, but I'll admit we had fun watching Karen's reputation crumble. The county also made a public statement clarifying that the HOA had zero jurisdiction over my property, that anyone claiming otherwise would be prosecuted. I rebuilt the fence, this time with reinforced steel posts, and installed a gate with cameras covering every angle. The Abrams went back into the barn, but not before I had a large vinyl decal made for its side that read, "Neighborhood Compliance Enforcement, Private Division." Every now and then, when I'm working in the yard, I'll see Karen drive past slowly, glaring at the barn doors. I'll give her a little wave, and she'll speed up. She hasn't sent anyone to my property since that night. Jason still talks about it like it was the greatest moment of his life. And in a way, it was not just for him, but for me. It proved that standing your ground, knowing your rights, and keeping a cool head can turn the tables on even the most entitled bullies. And if that happens to involve